Millionaire hired her for a contract marriage. She was a virgin and now he's obsessed. The pen trembled in Isabella Rivera's hand as she stared at the contract. 1 year, $1 million. No physical intimacy required. It should have been simple, a business transaction to save her brother's life. But when Damian Blackstone discovered her innocence on their wedding night, something dark and possessive awakened in him. The cold businessman who wanted a fake wife now couldn't bear the thought of letting her go. She thought she was selling a year of her life. He thought he was buying a convenient solution. Neither expected the obsession that would consume them both. Welcome back to our channel, everyone. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to join our family of story lovers. Comment below where you're watching from. I love connecting with viewers around the world. Today's story will show you that sometimes the most calculated arrangements lead to the most uncontrollable emotions. Sign here, here, and initial here. The lawyer's voice was monotone, like this was just another Tuesday afternoon transaction, instead of Isabella selling her life for 12 months. Damian Blackstone sat across the conference table, his grey eyes never leaving her face. He was everything the gossip columns said, devastatingly handsome, ruthlessly successful, and colder than winter steel. At 32, he'd built an empire worth billions, but apparently even he couldn't buy his way out of his grandfather's will. You understand the terms? Damian's voice was deep, controlled. 1 year of marriage, public appearances as required. You'll live in my penthouse. In return, $1 million deposited in installments. I understand. Isabella's voice came out steadier than she felt. No romantic expectations, no physical requirements. Something flickered in his eyes. Correct. This is purely business. I need a wife to secure my inheritance. You need money for your brother's treatment. Simple exchange. Simple. Nothing about this felt simple. Isabella thought of Luis, lying in a hospital bed, machines keeping him alive while bills piled up like death notices. 22 years old, and her baby brother was dying because she couldn't afford the experimental treatment that might save him. Why me? She asked suddenly. You could have any woman. Any woman would want more. Love, attention, a real marriage. You're desperate enough to stick to the contract. His words were cruel but honest. My investigator says you're clean. No drugs, no scandals, no messy romantic history. You're perfect. Perfect. If only he knew she'd never even been kissed properly. 24 years old, and she'd been too busy surviving to think about romance. First raising Luis after their parents died, then working 3 jobs to keep them afloat. Love was a luxury she couldn't afford. There's a medical clause, the lawyer interrupted. Mr. Blackstone will cover your brother's treatment immediately upon signing. Isabella's hand stilled. Immediately. The moment you sign, I make a call. Luis gets transferred to Cedar Medical, best oncology ward in the country. Dr. Morrison takes his case personally. Damian leaned back. I take care of my investments. Investment? That's all she was. Isabella signed her name with careful strokes, each letter feeling like a chain. But chains that would save Luis were chains she'd wear gladly. Excellent. Damian stood, buttoning his suit jacket. The wedding is tomorrow. City Hall, 2 p.m. Wear white. The press expects tradition. My driver will pick you up at 1. Tomorrow? Isabella's head spun. That's necessary. The will specifies I must be married by my 33rd birthday. That's in 5 days. He moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing. You'll need to move in immediately after the ceremony. Have your things ready. Then he was gone, leaving Isabella with a contract, a promise of salvation, and the feeling she'd just made a deal with a beautiful devil. The next day came too fast. Isabella stood in her tiny apartment, wearing a simple white dress she'd found at a thrift store. It was pretty enough, she supposed, though nothing like the designer gowns Damian's usual companions wore. You look beautiful, Mija. Mrs. Gonzalez from next door had come to help, like a real bride. I'm not a real bride, Isabella said quietly. I'm an employee. Love comes in many forms. Sometimes it starts with need. This won't start with anything. It's a business arrangement. Mrs. Gonzalez studied her with knowing eyes. We'll see. The car that picked her up was worth more than her entire building. The driver, a kind-faced man named Robert, helped her in carefully. Nervous, miss. Terrified, Isabella admitted. Mr. Blackstone's not as cold as he seems, just careful. Been hurt before. Isabella wanted to ask more, but they were already at City Hall. Damian waited on the steps, looking like he'd stepped from a magazine cover in his perfectly tailored suit. His eyes swept over her, something unreadable crossing his face. You look... He paused, seeming to search for words. Appropriate. Not beautiful, not lovely. Appropriate. Thank you. You look very handsome. The compliment slipped out before she could stop it. His eyebrows rose slightly. We should maintain professional boundaries, Isabella. Of course. I apologize. Don't apologize. Just remember what this is. The ceremony was quick, clinical. They signed papers, exchanged simple rings, and when the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Damian barely brushed his lips against hers. It was Isabella's first kiss, and it felt like a business handshake. Outside, photographers waited. Damian's arm came around her waist, his smile transforming his face. Smile, he murmured. Look happy. Look in love. Isabella smiled until her cheeks hurt, leaning into him like a real bride would. He smelled like expensive cologne and something uniquely him, cedar and rain. Beautiful, one photographer called. Give her a real kiss, Blackstone. Damian's jaw tightened, but he turned to Isabella. May I? For the cameras. She nodded, expecting another brief brush. Instead, his hand cupped her face, tilting it up as his lips met hers with surprising gentleness. The world exploded. Isabella had read about kisses that made you dizzy, but she'd thought it was fiction. This was lightning and honey and danger all at once. Damian pulled back abruptly, his eyes dark with something she couldn't name. That was adequate, he said roughly. The car's waiting. Adequate. Her first real kiss, and it was adequate. The penthouse was exactly what she'd expected. Massive, modern, all glass and steel with priceless art on the walls. What she hadn't expected was the second bedroom, fully furnished and waiting. Your room, Damian said, showing her in. Private bathroom, walk-in closet. I've arranged for a wardrobe. Mrs. Blackstone needs to look the part. This is too much. It's necessary. We have social obligations. Galas, dinners, charity events. You'll need appropriate attire. He turned to leave, then paused. Dinner's at 7. We should discuss schedules and expectations. Damian, Isabella called as he reached the door. Thank you for Luis. The hospital called. He's already been transferred. Something softened in his expression. I keep my promises, Isabella. Always. Dinner was awkward. Two strangers trying to navigate their new reality. Damian had cooked, surprisingly, a simple but delicious pasta. You cook? Isabella couldn't hide her shock. I lived alone for years before I could afford staff. I learned. He poured wine, then paused. Do you drink? Not really. I've been focused on other things. Of course. He poured her water instead. Tell me about Luis. So she did. How he'd been diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia 2 years ago. How she'd sold everything, worked endless hours, watched him fade despite her efforts. He's all I have left, she finished quietly. Our parents died when he was 10. Car accident. I've been taking care of him ever since. That's why you agreed to this, for him. I'd do anything for Luis. Anything. Including marrying a stranger. Including that. They ate in silence for a moment before Damian spoke again. We should establish boundaries, rules to make this easier. Okay. Separate bedrooms, obviously. No romantic involvement. Public displays of affection only when necessary. We'll need to learn basic information about each other. Birthdays, preferences, history. Enough to be convincing. Like studying for a test. Exactly. I've prepared files. Files? He had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. Background information. On both of us, so our stories match." Isabella laughed, surprising them both. "You made study guides for our fake marriage?" "I'm thorough." "I can see that." She smiled, and something in his expression shifted. You should smile more," he said quietly. "It's appropriate?" she suggested, a hint of teasing in her voice. "Dangerous," he corrected, then seemed to catch himself. "We should review the calendar. Our first event is Saturday, the Morrison Foundation Gala. Back to business." Isabella pushed down the flutter his words had caused. Dangerous. Her smile was dangerous. They spent the rest of the evening reviewing schedules, memorizing facts about each other. Damian's birthday was December 15th. He was allergic to shellfish. He'd graduated from Harvard at 20, built his first company at 22, lost it all at 25, and rebuilt bigger and better. "What happened?" Isabella asked. "At 25? His face closed off. "Bad investment. Trusted the wrong person. It's in the past." But she could see it wasn't, not really. Whatever happened had built the walls he lived behind now. "Your turn," he said, clearly changing the subject. "Birthday. April 3rd. No allergies. Graduated high school at 16. Started college but had to drop out when my parents died. I was going to be a teacher. Going to be. Luis needed me. Teaching doesn't pay enough for medical bills." She shrugged. "Life happens. You gave up your dreams for him. He's my brother. That's what family does." Damian studied her with those intense grey eyes. Not all families. There was pain there, hidden but present. Isabella wanted to ask, but it felt too personal for their arrangement. "I should go to bed," she said instead. "Thank you for dinner, and for everything." "It's just business," he reminded her, but his voice lacked conviction. "Right, just business." Isabella retreated to her room, her beautiful, lonely room in this beautiful, lonely penthouse. She'd traded one cage for another, but at least this one came with hope for Luis. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Sweet dreams, wife. D." She stared at the message, her heart doing strange things. "Just business," he'd said, but business associates didn't text goodnight wishes. "Good night, husband," she typed back, then deleted it. Too familiar. "Good night, Damian," she sent instead. 3 dots appeared, showing he was typing. Then nothing. Then dots again. Finally, "Wear blue on Saturday. It suits you." Isabella clutched her phone, reading too much into 7 words. He'd noticed what suited her. That meant something, didn't it? No, she couldn't think like that. This was a job, nothing more. 1 year, then freedom. 1 year of pretending to love a man who'd made it clear he wanted nothing real from her. She could do this. For Luis, she could do anything. Even ignore the way her lips still tingled from that kiss. Even pretend her heart hadn't raced when he'd called her smile dangerous. Even act like she wasn't already in trouble, falling for a man who'd hired her to be his pretend wife. 1 year. She just had to survive 1 year. Have you ever entered an arrangement that became more complicated than expected? Sometimes the heart doesn't follow contracts. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Saturday arrived with a delivery of gowns that took Isabella's breath away. Each one was more beautiful than the last, all in shades of blue like he'd suggested. "Mr. Blackstone sent these for your approval," Robert explained. "He said to choose whichever you prefer." Isabella touched the silk and chiffon reverently. The price tags had been removed, but she knew any one of these cost more than she'd made in a year. She chose the simplest, a midnight blue sheath that hugged her curves without being revealing, elegant but understated, appropriate, as Damian would say. When she emerged from her room that evening, Damian was waiting in the living room, adjusting his cufflinks. He looked up and froze. "You look..." He cleared his throat. "You'll do. You'll do. Not beautiful, not stunning. You'll do. Thank you. You look very handsome." She'd said it before, but it bore repeating. The tuxedo fit him perfectly, emphasizing his broad shoulders and trim waist. "We should go. Remember, We met at a charity auction 6 months ago. You were bidding on a painting for the children's hospital where you volunteer. I outbid you, and you asked me to dinner to apologize, Isabella recited. They'd rehearsed this story a dozen times. Good. And why did we keep the relationship quiet? You wanted to protect me from media scrutiny until we were sure. Perfect, he offered his arm. Ready? As I'll ever be. The gala was overwhelming. Hundreds of people in designer clothes, diamonds glittering under crystal chandeliers. Isabella felt like a sparrow among peacocks. Relax, Damian murmured, his hand warm on her lower back. You belong here, as much as anyone. I'm wearing borrowed clothes at a party that costs more than my neighborhood's annual income. You're wearing your clothes, I gave them to you. And you're here because you're my wife. His voice dropped. My beautiful, intelligent wife, who's about to charm everyone in this room. Beautiful. He'd called her beautiful. Before she could respond, they were surrounded by people eager to meet the woman who'd captured Damian Blackstone. Isabella smiled and chatted, surprised to find it wasn't as hard as she'd feared. She talked about Luis, about the children's hospital where she actually had volunteered, about her hopes for better pediatric care. She's delightful, one woman gushed to Damian. Where have you been hiding her? Keeping her to myself, Damian replied, pulling Isabella closer. Can you blame me? The possession in his voice sent shivers down her spine. It's an act, she reminded herself, just an act. But as the evening wore on, the act felt increasingly real. The way Damian's hand never left her, her back, her waist, her hand. The way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching. The way he tensed whenever another man spoke to her too long. Dance with me, he said suddenly, leading her to the floor without waiting for an answer. I don't really know how, Isabella started. Follow my lead, trust me. Trust him, this man who'd hired her, who'd made it clear emotions weren't part of their deal. But as he pulled her close, one hand on her waist, the other holding hers, she found herself doing exactly that. You're doing wonderfully, he murmured against her ear. Everyone believes we're madly in love. Is that what we're supposed to be? Madly in love? Convincingly in love, at least. His hand tightened on her waist. Thompson from the Times is watching. We should probably what? Instead of answering, he spun her, then pulled her back closer than before. Their faces were inches apart, his eyes dark and unreadable. You're trembling, he observed. I told you I don't dance. That's not why you're trembling. He was right. She was trembling because he was too close, because he smelled too good, because her body was responding to his in ways that had nothing to do with their contract. Damian! Did you know, he said conversationally, still moving them across the floor, that you bite your lip when you're nervous? You've been doing it all evening. I didn't realize. It's distracting. I'll stop. Don't. The word came out rougher than he'd clearly intended. I mean, it's fine. It makes you look appropriate, she suggested with a small smile. Human. Real. Unlike everyone else here. You're real, Isabella said softly. Am I? His laugh was bitter. Sometimes I wonder. The music changed to something slower, more intimate. Damian didn't let go. If anything, he pulled her closer. People are staring, Isabella whispered. Let them. We're newlyweds. We're supposed to be unable to keep our hands off each other. But we can. Keep our hands off each other, I mean. That's the whole point. Is it? His voice was strange, almost wondering. Isabella, I need to tell you something. Damian, there you are. A shrill voice cut through the moment. A blonde woman in a red dress that left little to imagination approached, her smile sharp as glass. And this must be your little wife. Damian's entire body tensed. Victoria. Victoria. Isabella recognized the name from her research. Damian's ex-fiancée, the one who'd left him for his business partner and half his fortune 5 years ago. Aren't you going to introduce us properly? Victoria's eyes swept over Isabella dismissively. Though I can see why you kept her hidden. She's so wholesome. Isabella, this is Victoria Ashford. Victoria, my wife, Isabella Blackstone. Blackstone, Victoria repeated with a laugh. How quickly some girls adapt to money. Tell me, Isabella, which escort service did Damian find you through? He always did prefer to pay for companionship after I left. Isabella felt Damian coil like a spring, ready to strike. Without thinking, she placed a calming hand on his chest. Actually, we met at a charity auction, she said pleasantly. I was bidding on a piece to benefit children with cancer. My brother is a survivor, so it's a cause close to my heart. Damian was so moved by my story that he not only let me win the piece, but donated an additional $1 million to the cause. She smiled sweetly. But I'm sure you understand charitable impulses. Oh wait, didn't you steal a children's charity donation when you embezzled from Damian? I might be mixing up my facts. Victoria's face went white, then red. You little... Careful, Damian cut in, his voice deadly quiet. That's my wife you're about to insult. And unlike 5 years ago, I'm not inclined to be civilized about it. You can't threaten me. I'm not threatening. I'm promising. Stay away from Isabella, stay away from us, or I'll make sure everyone in this room knows exactly how you funded your current lifestyle. Victoria fled, her designer heels clicking furiously against the marble floor. Isabella realized she was still touching Damian's chest, could feel his heart racing under her palm. I'm sorry, she started to pull away. He caught her hand, keeping it pressed against him. Don't apologize, that was magnificent. I shouldn't have mentioned the charity thing. That was cruel. That was true, and she deserved worse. He studied her face. How did you know about that? I did my homework too. Know thy husband's enemies and all that. You researched my past. You made me a study guide, Damian. Of course I researched. I needed to know who might try to hurt you so I could protect you. Protect me? He sounded stunned. Isabella, I hired you to be your wife. And wives protect their husbands, even fake ones. She realized her hand was still on his chest and finally pulled away. We should mingle more. People will talk if we stay in our own bubble. Let them talk. But he led her off the dance floor, his hand possessive on her back. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Isabella met what felt like hundreds of people, all eager to know about Damian's surprise bride. She played her part perfectly, but her mind kept returning to that moment on the dance floor, to the way he'd looked at her when she'd defended him. In the car home, they sat in silence until Damian finally spoke. No one's ever done that before. Done what? Defended me, protected me. Even when Victoria and I were together, she never... He shook his head. Thank you. It was nothing. It was everything. He turned to look at her in the dim light. You didn't have to, it wasn't in the contract. Not everything is about the contract, Damian. Isn't it? His voice was rough. Isn't that what this is? What we are? Isabella didn't know how to answer that, because what they were was becoming increasingly unclear. At the penthouse, she headed for her room, needing space to think. But Damian caught her hand. Isabella, wait. She turned, unprepared for the intensity in his eyes. I need to know something. Have you done this before? Done what? Married for money? No, Damian, I'm not a professional. No, not that. He seemed to struggle for words. Have you been with someone, romantically? Heat flooded her cheeks. That's not relevant to our arrangement. Please, just answer me. Why does it matter? Because you kissed like... He cut himself off, running a hand through his hair. Forget it. I'm sorry. That was inappropriate. I kissed like what? Isabella's heart was pounding. Tell me. Like you'd never been kissed before. Like it was your first. His eyes searched hers. Was it? Isabella lifted her chin, pride warring with embarrassment. Yes. Are you satisfied? Yes, I'm a 24-year-old virgin who's never been kissed until you did it for the cameras. Is that pathetic enough for you? Pathetic? Damian stepped closer. Isabella, that's not... I know what you're thinking. How does someone my age have no experience? But I told you I've been taking care of Luis since I was 18. There wasn't time for dating or romance or... Stop! His voice was commanding. You think I'm judging you? Aren't you? He seemed to be fighting some internal battle. I'm trying very hard not to kiss you again. The words hung between them like a live wire. But that's not... We agreed. Isabella's voice was barely a whisper. I know what we agreed. He stepped closer, backing her against the wall. But when you told Victoria off, when you touched me like you had the right to calm me, when you said you researched my past to protect me, Isabella, do you have any idea what you're doing to me? Damian, please. I can't be another Victoria. I can't be someone you pay for. You're nothing like her. His hands came up to frame her face, not touching but close enough that she could feel the heat. She took everything and gave nothing. You give everything and ask for nothing, even this arrangement. You're doing it for your brother, not yourself. That doesn't change what this is, doesn't it? His thumb ghosted over her cheek, barely a touch. Tell me you don't feel this. Tell me your heart isn't racing. Tell me you don't wonder what it would be like if I kissed you without cameras, without an audience, just because I desperately want to. Damian! His name was a plea, though for what she didn't know. I know, he said roughly, stepping back. I know. Contract. Boundaries. I'm sorry. He turned away. Good night, Isabella. She fled to her room, pressing her back against the closed door. Her heart was pounding, her skin still tingling from his almost touch. This wasn't supposed to happen. She wasn't supposed to want him to kiss her. He wasn't supposed to look at her like she was precious. Her phone buzzed. A text from him. I'm sorry, that was inappropriate. It won't happen again. Isabella stared at the message, then typed back. Which part? The almost kiss or the honesty? 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, both. Neither. I don't know anymore. Me either, she sent back. This is dangerous, came his reply. I know. We should stick to the contract. We should. A long pause, then. Wear green tomorrow for the hospital visit. Isabella smiled despite everything, back to safe ground. Why green? It brings out the gold in your eyes. So much for safe ground. Good night, Damian. Sweet dreams, Isabella. She didn't dream sweetly. She dreamed of grey eyes and almost kisses, of contracts burning while real vows took their place. She woke with his name on her lips and the dangerous realization that she was falling for her husband. Her fake husband. Her temporary husband. The husband who'd made it clear this was just business, even as his eyes said something entirely different. 1 year, she reminded herself. She just had to survive 1 year. But as she dressed in green the next morning, a color she'd never thought suited her until he said it did, Isabella wondered if survival was even possible. Not when every interaction left her wanting more. Not when Damian looked at her like she was a puzzle he desperately wanted to solve. Not when she was starting to hope that when the year ended, neither of them would want to let go. The hospital visit was for publicity. Damian's company was donating new equipment to the children's ward. But watching him with the kids, Isabella saw another side of him entirely. What's this do? A little boy asked, pointing at Damian's watch. It tells time, but it also does this. Damian showed him how it lit up, making the child giggle. Within minutes, he was surrounded by curious children, all wanting to see the magic watch. He's good with them, a nurse commented to Isabella. Natural father material. Isabella's heart clenched. Children weren't part of their contract. They weren't part of any possible future because there was no future beyond 12 months. Your husband's wonderful, another mother said. How long have you been married? Just a few days, Isabella admitted. Newlyweds. How sweet. You can see how much he adores you. Can you? Oh, honey, he hasn't taken his eyes off you since you arrived. Even while playing with the children, he keeps checking on you. That's a man in love. Isabella looked over to find Damian watching her, a soft expression on his face she'd never seen before. When their eyes met, he smiled, not his public smile or his business smile, but something private and warm that made her stomach flutter. Mrs. Blackstone. A familiar voice made her turn. Dr. Morrison stood there, Louise's new doctor. I thought I recognized you. How's Louise doing? Much better, thanks to the treatment. He's responding well. Glad to hear it. Though I should thank your husband. He's been very thorough about Luis's care, calls personally every day for updates. He does? You didn't know? Yes, every morning. Reviews all the test results, asks about comfort levels, ensures we have everything we need. I've never seen a brother-in-law so invested. Brother-in-law. The word hit Isabella like a physical blow. Damian called about Luis every day. Her fake husband was taking care of her real family with more dedication than she'd known. I didn't know, she managed. Dr. Morrison smiled. Well, he seems like the type to do good quietly. You're a lucky woman. Lucky? If only it were that simple. After the hospital, they had lunch at a small cafe. Damian seemed lighter somehow, the tension from the previous night gone. You were wonderful with those children, Isabella said. I like kids. They're honest. No agenda, no pretense. He paused. Do you want children? Someday, I mean. After our contract ends. He didn't say it, but the words hung there anyway. I always thought I would, but life had other plans. She stirred her coffee. What about you? I thought I did, with Victoria. Thank God that didn't happen. His jaw tightened. She would have been a terrible mother. You'll be a wonderful father, someday, with someone real. Right, someone real. He was quiet for a moment. Isabella, about last night, we don't need to discuss it. Yes, we do. I crossed a line. You're in a vulnerable position, dependent on me for your brother's care. What I did was... Human? Isabella interrupted. You were human, Damian. You had a moment of attraction. It happens. It can't happen, not between us. Why? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Because you deserve better than a man who has to pay for companionship. Because you deserve someone who can offer you forever, not just a year. Because... He seemed to struggle. Because if I kiss you again, I won't want to stop. Isabella's breath caught. Damian, no. We stick to the contract. It's safer for both of us. He signaled for the check. We have the Peterson dinner tonight. Wear the black dress. Back to business. Back to instructions and arrangements. But Isabella had seen beneath his mask now, and she couldn't unsee it. That evening, as she dressed in the designated black dress, Isabella made a decision. She would stick to the contract, would play her part perfectly, but she would also show Damian that he was worth more than he believed, that he deserved love without contracts or conditions, even if she could never be the one to give it to him permanently. When she emerged, Damian was on the phone, his back to her. I don't care what the board says, the donation goes through. A pause. Because it's the right thing to do. Since when do I need a better reason? Another pause. Yes, my wife's influence. Are you happy? Isabella believes in helping people without calculating the return. It's refreshing. My wife. Not the contract wife or the temporary wife, just my wife. He turned and saw her, his eyes darkening. I have to go, he said into the phone, not looking away from her. Problems? Isabella asked. Nothing important, you look... He cleared his throat. The dress fits well. It's beautiful. They all are. You didn't need to buy so many. I wanted you to have choices, to feel... He paused. I wanted you to feel valued. Damian, I don't need expensive dresses to feel valued. Then what do you need? You, she thought, but didn't say. I need you to see that you're worthy of real love. Honesty, she said instead. I need honesty. Honesty. He moved closer. You want honesty? Fine. You're driving me insane. Every time you smile, every time you defend me, every time you look at me like I'm more than my bank account, I forget this is fake. I forget you're here because I'm paying you. I forget everything except how much I want to... He cut himself off, jaw clenched. Want to what? Isabella's voice was barely a whisper. Things I have no right to want. Things that aren't in our contract. He stepped back. We should go. The Peterson dinner was at their estate in the Hamptons. During the drive, Damian explained that Richard Peterson was a potential investor whose approval could make or break a major deal. He's traditional, values family, stability. That's partly why I needed a wife, Isabella finished. I understand. Do you? Do you understand that every time I introduce you as my wife, it feels less like a lie? He gripped the steering wheel tighter. This was supposed to be simple. Life is rarely simple. Mine was. Before you. Was it? Or was it just empty? He didn't answer, but his knuckles were white on the wheel. The Petersons were an older couple, warm and welcoming. They embraced Isabella like family, complimenting Damian on finally finding a real woman, not those society peacocks. Tell us how you met, Mrs. Peterson urged over dinner. Richard says Damian was quite secretive about you. Isabella started their rehearsed story, but Damian interrupted. Actually, the truth is better. He looked at Isabella. I was at my lowest point. Closed off, bitter, convinced I'd never trust anyone again. Then Isabella walked into my life and changed everything. She saw past my walls to who I could be. She made me want to be better. Damian, Isabella whispered, heart racing. She doesn't care about my money. She cares about my character. Do you know how rare that is? How precious? He was speaking to the Petersons, but looking at Isabella. I'm terrified every day that she'll realize she deserves better, that this beautiful, kind, selfless woman will wake up and see she's married to a man who's forgotten how to love properly. Oh, Damian, Mrs. Peterson said softly, that's beautiful. It's true, he said simply. Every word. Isabella couldn't breathe. This wasn't part of their script. This was real, raw, dangerous. I think, Mr. Peterson said with a knowing smile, that you remember how to love just fine, son. The way you look at her says everything. After dinner, the Petersons showed them their garden. Damian and Richard walked ahead, discussing business, while Isabella strolled with Mrs. Peterson. You're good for him, the older woman said. I've known Damian since he was starting out. Brilliant boy, but so guarded. After that terrible woman nearly destroyed him, well, we worried he'd never open his heart again. He's stronger than he thinks, Isabella said, and you're the one showing him that. Hold on to each other, dear. Real love is rare. Real love. If only she knew how unreal this all was. Or was it? The lines had blurred so completely, Isabella no longer knew where the act ended and truth began. In the car home, they sat in charged silence until Isabella finally spoke. Did you mean it? What you said at dinner? Every word. His voice was rough. I'm sorry. I know that wasn't what we agreed. Stop apologizing for being human. Stop apologizing for feeling things. Feeling things for you could ruin everything. Or save everything, Isabella countered. Damian, what if we... No. He cut her off. Don't say it. Please. If you say it, I won't be strong enough to resist. What if I don't want you to resist? He pulled the car over abruptly, turning to face her. Isabella, you don't understand. I'm obsessed with you. Not healthy interest, not casual attraction. Obsessed. I think about you constantly. I check on Luis every day because he's part of you. I buy you dresses because I want to give you the world. I lie awake at night knowing you're just down the hall and it takes everything in me not to go to you. Damian, when you told me you'd never been kissed, something primitive in me roared to life. The thought that I was your first, that no other man has touched you, tasted you, known you, it makes me insane. I want to be your only, your last, your everything. You're scaring me, Isabella whispered, but not from fear of him, fear of how much she wanted what he was describing. Good, you should be scared, because if we cross this line, I won't let you go. Not after a year, not ever. I'll find ways to keep you, trap you, make you mine in every way possible. That's not love, Damian, that's possession. I know. He laughed bitterly. See? This is why we stick to the contract. Because I don't know how to love normally anymore. Victoria broke something in me, and now all I have is this hunger for you that threatens to consume us both. Isabella studied his tortured face. understanding flooding through her. She really destroyed you, didn't she? She took my ability to trust, to love without fear, to believe in forever. She made me into this controlled, cold creature who needs contracts to feel safe. You're not cold. Isabella reached out, touching his face gently. You're scared. There's a difference. He leaned into her touch, eyes closing. Don't be kind to me. I can resist everything but your kindness. Then I'll be cruel. Listen carefully, Damian Blackstone. You're a coward. You hide behind contracts and control because you're terrified of being vulnerable again. You say you're obsessed with me, but what you're really obsessed with is safety. The idea that I'm innocent means I can't hurt you like she did. His eyes snapped open. That's not, isn't it? You want to possess me because possession feels safer than partnership. You want to be my only because then you never have to compete, never have to worry about measuring up. She pulled her hand back. But that's not love, Damian. Love is letting someone choose you freely every single day, knowing they could choose someone else, but trusting they won't. I don't know how to do that anymore. Then learn. Because I won't be your possession, Damian. I won't be your safe choice or your contractual obligation. If you want me, really want me, then you have to risk being hurt again. You have to choose love over control. And if I can't, then we finish our year and part ways as agreed. The words tasted like ash. But know this, I would have chosen you freely. Not for your money or the security, or even for Luis. I would have chosen you for the man who plays with sick children, who calls about my brother every day, who looks at me like I'm precious. But I won't choose a man who's too scared to choose me back without a safety net. She got out of the car and walked into the building, leaving him sitting there. Her hands shook as she rode the elevator up, but she'd said what needed saying. In her room, she sat on the bed, still in the black dress he'd chosen, and waited. Either he'd understand what she was offering, real love, freely given, or he'd retreat further into his contracts and control. Her phone buzzed. A text from him. You're right, about everything. I'm a coward. Then another. But you make me want to be brave. And another. I'm standing outside your door. I won't come in unless you ask. But Isabella, please, ask. Isabella's heart pounded as she walked to the door. Through the wood, she could feel his presence, waiting. She pressed her palm against the barrier between them. If I open this door, everything changes, she said. Everything's already changed. His voice was muffled, but clear. The moment you signed that contract, my life changed. The moment you defended me to Victoria, my heart changed. The moment you told me you'd never been kissed, my soul changed. Pretty words, Damian. But what happens tomorrow? Do we go back to pretending? No more pretending, no more contracts, just truth. And what's your truth? My truth is that I'm terrified. My truth is that you're right. I want to possess you because I'm scared of losing you. My truth is that I check on Luis because caring for him feels like caring for you. My truth is that I haven't slept properly since you moved in because I know you're here and I can't touch you. Isabella's hand moved to the doorknob. What else? My truth is that when you smile, I forget how to breathe. When you laugh, I remember what happiness feels like. When you look at me like I'm worth saving, I almost believe it. Damian, my truth is that I'm falling in love with you, and it's nothing like what I felt for Victoria. That was desperate need. This is wanting to give you everything while needing nothing in return. This is being willing to let you go if it would make you happier. This is choosing your happiness over my fear. Isabella opened the door. He stood there, still in his dinner clothes but disheveled, his perfect control finally cracked. My truth, she said softly, is that I've been falling for you since you made that first call about Luis. Since you bought me choices instead of just one dress. Since you told the Petersons you were terrified of losing me. Isabella, my truth is that I don't want a contract. I want a choice. I want to choose you every morning and have you choose me back. I want messy, complicated, real love, not possession, partnership. I don't know if I know how. Then we'll learn together. She stepped closer. But Damian, if we do this, no more walls, no more control, no more safety nets, just us figuring it out as we go. That terrifies me. Me too. Do it anyway? Instead of answering, he cupped her face in his hands, studying her like she was a miracle. Are you sure? Once I kiss you, really kiss you, there's no going back. I meant what I said. I'll want everything. Then take everything, but give everything too. He kissed her then, and it was nothing like their public kiss. This was desperate and tender, possessive and giving. Years of loneliness and fear melting away in the heat between them. Isabella had wondered what passion felt like. Now she knew it was drowning and flying at once. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Damian rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he said simply, not contractually, not temporarily, just love you. I love you too, have for a while now. What happens now? Now we do something really crazy, Isabella said with a smile. We try to have a normal relationship. Well, as normal as possible when we're already married. I want to do this right. Date you properly. Court you. Show you I can be more than contracts and control. Damian, we live together. We're legally married. I think we're past traditional courtship. Then we'll make our own traditions. He kissed her again, softer this time. Starting with this, I choose you, Isabella, not because of a contract or a will or any external reason. I choose you because you make me want to be the man you see when you look at me. And I choose you, Damian, not for your money or security, for your hidden kindness, your terrible cooking, your obsessive need to buy me dresses. My cooking's not terrible, he protested. The pasta was good. Everything else. She laughed at his offended expression. I'll teach you. Teach me everything, he said seriously. How to love without fear, how to trust without contracts, how to be the husband you deserve. You already are. You just need to believe it. They stood in her doorway, neither moving to go further. This was too important to rush, too precious to cheapen with haste. Can I ask you something? Damian said. That night, our wedding night, were you disappointed that we didn't? I was relieved, Isabella admitted. I was terrified you'd expect payment. Never. God, Isabella, never. It'll be because we both want it, not because either of us owes the other anything. When, she corrected softly. Not if. When. But not tonight. No, not tonight. Tonight I just want to hold you. Would that be okay? Instead of answering, Isabella took his hand and led him to the living room. They curled up on the couch, her head on his chest, his arms around her like he was afraid she'd disappear. Tell me about your dreams, he said, the ones you gave up for Luis. So she did. Talked about wanting to teach, to shape young minds, to make a difference. He listened, fingers playing with her hair, occasionally asking questions. You'll go back to it, he said when she finished. When Luis is better. I'll help however I can. I don't want your money, not money, support, encouragement, belief, the things you've given me. They talked until dawn, sharing dreams and fears, building something real from the ashes of their arrangement. When Isabella finally dozed off, Damian carried her to her bed, tucking her in gently. Sleep, my love, he whispered, kissing her forehead. Tomorrow, we start our real story. Have you ever found love in the most unexpected circumstances? Sometimes what starts as necessity becomes destiny. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The next morning, Isabella woke to the smell of coffee and something burning. She found Damian in the kitchen, surrounded by smoke and looking sheepish. I was trying to make you breakfast, he explained. Apparently I can run a billion-dollar company, but not operate a toaster. Isabella laughed, waving away smoke. How did you burn toast? I got distracted thinking about you and forgot I'd put it in twice. He pulled her close. Good morning, wife. Good morning, husband. The words felt different now, weighted with possibility instead of obligation. How did you sleep? Better than I have in years, you? Same. Turns out the cure for insomnia is holding the woman you love. Damian Blackstone, are you becoming a romantic? Maybe. Is that a problem? Not at all. She kissed him lightly. Now move. Let me save breakfast. As she worked, Damian sat at the counter, watching her with such naked adoration it made her blush. Stop looking at me like that. Like what? Like I'm performing miracles. I'm just scrambling eggs. You're in my kitchen, making breakfast, choosing to be here. That's miracle enough. After breakfast, reality intruded. Damian had meetings, and Isabella wanted to visit Luis. But first they had to discuss the elephant in the room. The contract, Damian said. We should tear it up. We can't. Your inheritance... I don't care about the inheritance anymore. I care about us not having that document between us. Damian, be practical. It's billions of dollars. Money I don't need. I have enough. More than enough. He took her hands. But I need you to... I like you in everything. I love you in nothing. He caught himself. I mean, I would, theoretically, when you're ready. If you're ever... Isabella silenced him with a kiss. I know what you meant. And Damian, I'm not as innocent as you think. I know what I want. I'm just choosing to wait until it means something more than physical need. It already means more. It means everything. Then we'll know when it's right. Now go back to your meeting before they send security looking for you. They wouldn't dare, but he headed for the door. Tonight, 7 o'clock. Be ready to be wooed. Wooed? Who says wooed anymore? Men desperately in love with their wives. He blew her a kiss. Wear the blue dress. That evening, Isabella did wear the blue dress, smiling at how he'd gone from ordering her to requesting. Progress. Damian arrived with flowers, not expensive roses, but wildflowers like she'd mentioned loving as a child. He'd been listening, remembering. You look beautiful, he said, drinking her in. But then you always do. Even in my old pajamas with morning hair? Especially then. That's my Isabella, not the polished version for the world. Dinner was at a small Italian restaurant, intimate and warm. No photographers, no business associates, just them. This is where I came after Victoria, Damian admitted. The owner, Maria, fed me even when I just sat here staring at nothing. She saved me with pasta and patience. Then I owe her everything, Isabella said, for keeping you going until I could find you. You really believe that? That we were meant to find each other? I believe we chose each other. That's better than fate, it's decision. They talked about everything and nothing. Damian shared more about his childhood. Lonely despite the wealth, parents who showed love through achievements rather than affection. Isabella told him about life after her parents died, the struggle and fear, but also the fierce love between her and Luis. We're both orphans in a way, Damian observed. Maybe that's why we understand each other. We're not orphans anymore, we have each other and Luis, and even your terrifying board of directors. They're not terrifying. You haven't met my Aunt Patricia. Now, she's terrifying. I have to meet your aunt. Eventually, she'll love you. She's been telling me for years to find someone real. He took her hand. I finally listened. After dinner, they walked through the city, hands linked, just another couple in love. At a street fair, Damian won her a ridiculous stuffed elephant, preening when she hugged it. You're proud of winning a rigged game? I'm proud of making you smile. He pulled her close. I want to make you smile every day for the rest of our lives. That's a long time. Not long enough. They danced to street musicians, bought ice cream from a vendor, acted like teenagers rather than a billionaire and his contract-turned-real wife. This is perfect, Isabella said as they finally headed home. This is just the beginning. I want to give you a lifetime of perfect nights. I don't need perfect. I just need you. You have me. Completely, obsessively, eternally. Back at the penthouse, they stood at her bedroom door, both reluctant for the night to end. Thank you, Isabella said, for tonight, for showing me who you are when you're not being the billionaire CEO. This is who I want to be all the time. The man who makes you laugh, who wins you elephants, who loves you without limits. You are that man. You just forgot for a while. He kissed her goodnight, tender and full of promise. Sweet dreams, my love. Only of you, she promised. The next few weeks were a blur of discovery. They learned each other's rhythms, preferences, dreams. Damian taught Isabella about his business, not the money, but the innovation, the drive to create. Isabella taught Damian to cook properly, laughing at his intense concentration over simple recipes. You're approaching pasta like a hostile takeover, she teased. I want to get it right, for you. It's already right, because you're trying. They visited Luis together, Damian charming her brother with video games and terrible jokes. Luis pulled Isabella aside during one visit. He's different than I expected, Luis said. More human. He's very human, just good at hiding it. He loves you, like really loves you, the way Dad loved Mom. Isabella's eyes misted. Yeah, he really does. And you love him? More than I thought possible. Good. You deserve that. After everything you gave up for me. I didn't give up anything that matters, and look what I gained. But not everything was smooth. The media discovered their quick marriage, spinning stories about gold diggers and rebounds. Damian wanted to sue everyone. Isabella just laughed. Let them talk. We know the truth. It bothers me, they're painting you as some scheming. Damian. She silenced him with a kiss. I don't care what they think. I care what you think. What Luis thinks. What I think. Everyone else is just noise. When did you become so wise? When I fell in love with a complicated man who needed reminding that love is simple. The real test came when Aunt Patricia visited. She swept in like a force of nature, examining Isabella with sharp eyes. So you're the one who finally cracked my nephew's walls, she said over tea. I just showed him they weren't as necessary as he thought, Isabella replied. Patricia studied her. You're not what I expected. Younger? Poorer? More obviously after his money. Stronger, Patricia corrected. It takes strength to love someone as damaged as Damian without trying to fix him. I don't want to fix him. I want to love him as he is while he chooses who to become. Patricia's stern face softened. Good answer. Victoria wanted to change him, make him harder, more ruthless. You're letting him become softer. That's what he needs. He's teaching me too. To believe I deserve good things, to accept help without shame, to trust that love can last. You're good for each other then. Patricia stood to leave, then paused. The contract was a ridiculous idea, but I'm glad it brought you together. After she left, Damian emerged from his office where he'd been hiding. She likes you, he said, amazed. She never liked Victoria. Smart woman? The smartest, except for you. He pulled her close. How do you do it? Make everyone love you? I don't make anyone do anything. I just am who I am. And who you are is extraordinary. That night, as they cooked dinner together, Damian had progressed to chopping vegetables without supervision. Isabella felt a shift in the air between them. Luis comes home next week, she said. Just for a visit, but still. That's wonderful. We should prepare the guest room. Make sure it's comfortable for him. Damian, she turned to face him. I want to be with you fully, completely. No contracts, no obligations. Just us. His hands stilled. Isabella, we don't have to. I know we don't have to. I want to. I've wanted to for weeks. But I needed to be sure it was about us, not about gratitude or contracts or anything else. And now I know. I love you. Not because you saved Luis or gave me security, because you leave board meetings to see me, because you burn toast thinking about me, because you're trying so hard to be the man you think I deserve when you already are. Isabella. His voice was rough with emotion. Make love to me, Damian. Show me what it's like when it's real. He crossed to her, framing her face in his hands. Are you sure? We can wait. I've been waiting my whole life. For you. For this. For us. She smiled. I'm done waiting. He kissed her then, different from all their other kisses. This was promise and possession, tenderness and hunger. This was coming home. I love you, he whispered against her lips. Let me show you how much. That night, Isabella discovered what it meant to be cherished. Damian worshipped her with patience and passion, making her first time everything it should be, safe, beautiful, transformative. She understood now why she'd waited, not from fear or lack of opportunity, but because somehow she'd known it should be like this, with someone who saw her as precious, who made love to her soul as much as her body. Are you okay? Damian asked afterward, holding her like she might break. More than okay. Perfect. She traced patterns on his chest. Was I? You were everything. Are everything. Will always be everything. He tilted her chin up. Thank you. For what? For trusting me with all of you. For waiting for this. For us. For showing me that love doesn't have to hurt. Love should never hurt. It should heal. You've healed me, Isabella, in ways I didn't know I needed. They lay entwined, no longer contract spouses but lovers in every sense. The future stretched before them, bright with possibility. "What happens now?" Isabella asked. "Now we live, really live, together." He kissed her forehead. "No more contracts, no more arrangements, just love." "Just love," she agreed. "Though we should probably keep some structure. You have a company to run. The company can wait. You're my priority now." "Damian, you can't neglect your work for me. Watch me prioritize both. Build an empire while building a life with you." He smiled. "I'm very good at multitasking." "I've noticed," she said, blushing at recent memories. "Isabella Blackstone, are you flirting with me?" Maybe, is that allowed? Encouraged, required, desperately hoped for. They made love again, slower this time, savoring each discovery. When they finally slept, it was deeply, peacefully, wrapped in each other and their new beginning. Luis's homecoming was emotional. He was thin but smiling, weak but winning. Damian had transformed the guest room into a haven, complete with gaming system and medical equipment. "This is too much," Luis protested. "Nothing's too much for family," Damian said simply. Isabella watched them together, her brother and her husband, and felt her heart overflow. This was what she'd never dared dream of. Not just survival, but thriving. Not just love, but family. "You're glowing," Luis observed one evening as they watched a movie. "Am I?" "Yeah. Like Mom used to when Dad would come home." He smiled. "It's good to see you happy, Bella. Really happy. It's good to feel it. Damian's good for you. And you're good for him. He told me he was lost before you." "He told you that?" "Yesterday. Said you saved him from becoming someone he wouldn't like." Luis yawned. "I like who he is now. We're lucky, Bella." "The luckiest," she agreed. As Luis dozed, Damian appeared with a blanket, covering him gently. Such a small gesture, but it showed everything. How he'd embraced not just Isabella, but everyone she loved. "Thank you," she whispered. "For?" "Being you. Loving us both. Loving you both is the easiest thing I've ever done." He pulled her close. "Though I have something to tell you." "That sounds ominous." "Not ominous, just the year is almost up." Isabella's heart skipped. She'd forgotten about their contract timeline, so caught up in their real relationship. "So it is. I want to do this right. Propose properly. Marry you again because we choose to, not because we have to." He pulled out a small box. "Isabella Rivera, you signed a contract to be my wife. Will you sign your heart to be my forever?" Inside was a ring, not huge or ostentatious, but perfect. A sapphire surrounded by diamonds, the color of the dress she'd worn on their first real date. "Yes," she breathed. "Yes to forever. Yes to everything." He slipped the ring on her finger, replacing the simple band from their contract wedding. "I love you. Beyond contracts, beyond arrangements, beyond anything I thought I could feel. I love you too, for teaching me I was worth more than survival, for showing me love could be safe and wild at once, for becoming the man who was always inside you." They married again 6 months later, in the garden of the Children's Hospital, where Damian's donations had built a new wing. Luis walked Isabella down the aisle, healthy and strong. Aunt Patricia cried. Even the board of directors seemed moved. "Do you, Damian, take this woman to be your wife? No contracts, no arrangements, just love?" the officiant asked. "I do, forever, completely, obsessively." "Do you, Isabella, take this man to be your husband? With all his complications, his burnt toast, his tendency to leave meetings when he misses you?" "I do, absolutely, eternally, gratefully. Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. Again, for real this time." Their kiss was everything. Past pain healed, present joy celebrated, future promise sealed. At the reception, as they danced to the song from their first real date, Damian whispered, "No regrets." "Only one," Isabella said. "What?" "That I can't marry you again tomorrow, and the next day, and every day after." We'll just have to settle for loving each other every day instead. Deal, but no contracts this time. No contracts, he agreed. Just promises. And love. Always love. As they danced, surrounded by family and friends, Isabella marveled at the journey. From a desperate contract to save her brother to a love that saved them both. From a virgin bride terrified of her husband's expectations to a woman secure in her worth and her choices. From a cold arrangement to the warmest love. "What are you thinking?" Damian asked. "That sometimes the best things come from the worst circumstances. That contracts can't contain real love. That obsession becomes devotion when it's mutual. That hiring you was the smartest business decision I ever made. That falling for you was the bravest personal decision I ever made. We're quite a pair, aren't we? The billionaire who couldn't love and the virgin who couldn't trust. We're perfect, perfectly imperfect, perfectly us. Perfectly forever," Damian agreed. And they were. Through Luis's full recovery, through the children Isabella eventually gave Damian, through business triumphs and personal challenges, they remained perfectly, obsessively, completely in love. Because sometimes what starts as a contract becomes a covenant. Sometimes what begins in desperation blooms into devotion. And sometimes, just sometimes, a millionaire hiring a virgin bride for convenience discovers that love can't be bought, sold, or contracted. It can only be chosen, cherished, and celebrated every single day, forever. Thank you so much for joining me on this emotional journey of unexpected love and second chances. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to believe that love can bloom in the most unlikely circumstances. Have you ever found love when you were just trying to survive? Or discovered that what started as necessity became your greatest blessing? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. Remember, true love isn't about contracts or arrangements. It's about choosing each other every day, through every challenge, with every breath. Until next time, keep believing in love that transforms, heals, and transcends all expectations. Stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next story.